2 years ago, I rented this old wooden house on the outskirts of Kyoto. I needed a place to be alone and finish my work. It was a rainy autumn day, just like today. There wasn't a soul around, only the monotonous sound of water falling onto the moss in the garden. Every time I walked out onto the wooden veranda, Engawa, a specific floorboard beneath my left foot would let out a strange, hollow creak. By the third day, the sound began to annoy me. I grabbed some tools, thinking it was just a loose old nail. But when I pried up the edge of the board, it gave way far too easily. Someone had lifted it before me. There, in the dark gap between the stone foundation and the wood, lay a package. It was small, wrapped in oiled dark silk that had barely decayed from the moisture. Inside, two things were hidden: a small leather pocket diary and a sheet of paper folded into quarters, already brittle with age. I unfolded the letter very carefully, terrified of tearing the paper. It was written in English, but the handwriting was incredibly neat and rounded, with the distinct, gentle mistakes typical of Japanese speakers learning the language. At the top there was a date, October 12, 1986. It was written by a girl named Akiko. The letter was addressed to a man she simply called David. As I later understood, David was an American engineer who had come to Kyoto for a long-term assignment at a local factory. The letter was steeped in pain and desperation. Akiko wrote that her traditional family had discovered their secret romance. Her father had delivered an ultimatum. Either she cut off all contact with the foreigner forever, or she would be cast out of the house without a single yen, shamed before the entire city. Furthermore, they had already chosen a fiancé for her, the son of her father's business partner. At the end of the letter, Akiko arranged one final meeting. She wrote, "My parents think they have broken me, but I have made my choice. On October 14th, when the evening rain begins, I will be waiting for you on our veranda. If you come and are ready to take me with you to America, we will leave together. If not, I will submit to my father's will. I will wait in the garden under the old Momiji maple tree until the last drop falls from the roof." Reading this gave me goosebumps. But the most chilling discovery awaited me when I opened Akiko's diary. The letter was tucked inside it. It had never been sent. David had never received it. The pages of the diary for October 1986 were almost empty, except for a few frantic entries. Akiko wrote that her parents had locked her in her room under house arrest immediately after she finished writing that letter. She couldn't pass it to David through the maid she tried to bribe, because the girl was too terrified of Akiko's father. However, on the night of October 14th, Akiko managed to escape through a window. The diary cuts off with an entry written at 6 p.m. during a torrential downpour. "I am on the veranda. Rain is pouring off the tiles. I am so scared. I hid my diary under the floorboard where we used to leave notes for each other. David, if you can feel in your heart that I am here, please come." She sat on this very veranda where I am sitting right now, looking out at this exact garden. She was hoping for a miracle, but David knew nothing about the meeting. To him, she had simply vanished, stopped replying, and submitted to her parents' wishes, or at least, that is what he was forced to believe. This story wouldn't let me sleep. I spent weeks asking elderly neighbors and digging through old archival records about the past owners of this house. I managed to find out that Akiko's family owned this place until the late 90s. Akiko herself did indeed marry the man her father chose. She lived a quiet, submissive life and passed away in 2012, never sharing her secret with anyone. But I decided to go further. Using social media and old employee directories of American companies operating in Japan, I tried to track down David. It felt like looking for a needle in a haystack, but 6 months later, I found him. David Miller, now 68 years old, living in a small town in Oregon. He never married. I wrote him an email, attaching a photograph of the letter I found under the floorboards. He only replied 3 days later. His message consisted of just a few sentences. I blamed her for all these 40 years. I thought she got scared and betrayed our love. That evening, October 14th, 1986, there was a terrible storm in Kyoto. I was losing my mind, just wandering the streets. My feet brought me to her house on their own. I stood by the garden gate for an hour, staring at the veranda through the downpour. I thought I saw someone standing under the maple tree, but I told myself it was just a play of shadows, and I walked away because I was afraid of her father. My God, I was right there. Now, whenever autumn rain falls in Kyoto, I always come out onto this veranda. I look at the old maple tree in the garden and think about how, at that exact moment 40 years ago, two people were just a few meters apart. They were separated only by a wall of rain and an undelivered letter. Sometimes, what we mistake for betrayal or indifference is just a tragic coincidence of life. Cherish those who are close to you and say the important words on time, before the rain washes away all the traces. Stay beneath this rain for as long as you need. Let it wash everything else away,